So I just got done watching Guy Ritchie's brand new movie, The Covenant, and I gotta say right off the bat, I'm really frustrated by this one. In fact, I will go as far to say, and I say this as a massive Guy Ritchie fan, I say this as someone who has liked each and every one of his movies up to this point, and I say this as someone who even liked King Arthur, which not a lot of people did, but I am one of those. But I'm here to say that this movie is frustrating. It's easily Guy Ritchie's worst film. And I think there will be people who do enjoy this. I'll point that out there right there. I think there is a good message in this movie, a very important message, and good topical stuff that needs to be talked about in this film. But walking out of it, I felt completely frustrated by a ton of things that they tried to do in here. And I appreciate Guy Ritchie trying to go a little bit different, not really infuse his style, but really much make something that has something meaningful to say. But it's so bogged down by so many different elements. And with that said, for the people who don't know what Guy Ritchie's The Covenant is, it's about during the war in Afghanistan, a local interpreter risks his own life to carry an injured sergeant across miles of grueling terrain. Now that's very much just the basic synopsis. And to kind of give a point of reference, I never even saw the trailer for this. I went into this movie just seeing Guy Ritchie, war film, and you know, some people might be like, well, were you expecting like a straightforward Guy Ritchie film? I wasn't, because when the film had actually started, like in the first 10 minutes, I was like instantly, I'm like, this is not your typical flashy Guy Ritchie editing, fast talking, smooth talking, all sorts of things like that. This seems like something different. I'm open to that. Let's do it. I love when a director tries to do something different and infuse some of his own personal styles, because you can definitely see that within some of the editing, some of the shots and elements like that. But you have a film starring Jake Gyllenhaal, you have a film starring Alexander Ludwig, you have Anthony Starr in here, but the actual main star of this, right alongside Jake Gyllenhaal, actor named Dar Salim, who plays Ahmed, the interpreter in here. And there's a lot of important things in here. So this is going to be overall a non-spoiler review, but I do want to give a warning that there will be certain aspects I talk about the film that you typically do see in war films like this. So if you're just someone who doesn't want to get spoiled by even the most minute details, be warned on that. It's just very hard to talk about this film because I am very frustrated by it. With that said, though, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button for more content like this over here on a daily basis. I love talking movies either over here on my channel or even on my other extended channel, Zach Pope Expanded. I don't know which channel I'm putting this review on yet, but it's on one of those, and you should subscribe to both channels if you enjoy talking movies. Make sure to also leave your thoughts down below. What is your favorite Guy Ritchie film? I also already reviewed Operation Fortune in here. I'll put that as a card above. That's his other film that came out earlier this year. I like that one. Before we actually do dive into what frustrated me, I do like to talk about the pros, because that is one of the things that does kind of keep some things together when we talk about film. Too many people are negative in this space, and I want to talk about the performances. Jake Gyllenhaal solid in here, but the best performance in here is Dar Salim as Ahmed. I was absolutely transfixed by his performance, and I thought he was absolutely phenomenal in here. Every single line, every single delivery, every single mannerism in here, he absolutely becomes every aspect of that. And every single moment he had in this film, I just fell more and more in love with his character. And I would actually go as far as say, as much as I was frustrated by this film, if you were to ask me top 10 Guy Ritchie characters that Guy Ritchie's ever made, I would put him at number 10. I think he's that damn good, maybe even a little bit higher, but I would never rewatch this film to decide on that. The other aspect I want to talk about is the messaging of this film is very topical, specifically within the Afghan war, everything going on in Iraq with the Taliban, and specifically looking at how we handled the interpreter stuff and even people needing visas coming from different countries. There is a lot of topical stuff in there, a lot of political stuff too, which I'm not going to get into, but topical elements that, while I don't think the film handled in the best mannerisms, I like the messaging, and I think it will get that word abuzz. I think it will get that message across for some people who may not know about these issues, these topical issues that are very important. So I did appreciate that at the very least. That is actually where all my pros end at. And this is where I want to dive into my frustration and my issues. So flat out off the bat, the film is very generic when it comes down to the war and everything of that nature. And even within the action, there really wasn't, like, if you're going into this wanting a fun, not a fun war film, but an entertaining war film that does have solid action films in this, you've seen it all the time before. Movie's all broken up into, starts out as this very generic war film, dives into this man having to carry someone through an entire terrain, and while it drags quite considerably in there, I liked what it did, and it kind of reminded me of Death Stranding. The opening of this is kind of like the most generic Call of Duty mission you've ever played in one of those games. Then you dive into Death Stranding, the video game, but in the Afghan war of a man traveling with another man on his back trying to save him. And then the back half of the film has two different things. It dives into the social issues of getting a visa and getting approved for all that and how difficult it can be. And back into the generic war once again. So you mash that all together. My aspect and my issues come from pacing being considerably not great, pretty bland and repetitive, and the bland and repetitiveness frustrated me because I would have rather had dialogue between both of these characters having a conversation where we as people can understand even more details to everything. Adding in there a little bit more, every single time they try to do something topical, they very much leave it into a shallow display of it. And shallow might be a little bit hard, maybe short-sighted. It's the most generic view and thing that you can see on every aspect. Getting a visa, how we handle certain people in Afghanistan, all of those elements. Just very generic. Frustrated by that because the idea is really good. And Guy Ritchie had it all right there. So that's where it leaves me, just sitting here, leaving the movie going, that should have been better. I wanted more from this. And I just, by the time it ended, it pops up all these stuff on the screens of all this important messaging that us as people should know. And I like when movies do that because it puts a whole new perspective in you. But as I'm reading that, I'm like, I can completely tell that Guy Ritchie was very passionate about this. But where was the best Guy Ritchie filmmaking that he could have done in here? And I just feel like this film really definitely needed a huge script rewrite to rewrite certain sequences throughout this whole thing. To help the pacing of it all, but to specifically expand on those topical messages that Guy Ritchie really wanted to infuse in. And I'm not sure if like that was his original idea, but then the studio told him, hey, you got to make this more of an action film. So they added a lot more action and generic. It just felt really haphazard and lazy at times. And I didn't hate this movie, but I was just very frustrated by it and honestly very bored at times. And it sucks because I think this is the film that has, again, an important message to it all. So The Covenant, it's not bad, but it's very frustrating and it's not a film that I would recommend. It's easily my least favorite Guy Ritchie film. Like, hands down. I think Jake Gyllenhaal is good. I think Dar Salim, again, is the best aspect of the entire film. I am so impressed by him as an actor in here. And I did like the messaging. But it's generic. And it's short-sighted, and I feel like there was a lot more that needed to be included in this. So with that said, that is my review for The Covenant. I'm going to give this film a C-. Thank you so much again, guys, for watching this. You guys are really all the best. Make sure to leave your thoughts down below. Hit that like and subscribe button for more. And, of course, until next time, stay classy.